Hello and welcome to Untier Talk. It's the weird experiment that somehow hasn't stopped yet. Hi, Chad. What's up?
Hi guys. I'm good. I'm good. I'm playing on this here Pokemon Showdown website. I'm sure you guys have heard of it by now. Yeah.
Uh,
What's good? How's life been?
oh, nice. Let's just go right into your. I didn't really know how to introduce this because you said you have some kind of announcement. I haven't heard it yet, but you said it's
Okay.
important to
Yeah.
get it out right at the beginning of the episode. So I just wanted to jump right into that. What do you got?
All right. So basically, I've decided that tomorrow I'm going to quit Pokemon forever.
Is that real?
No, I was lying.
Oh,
The actual announcement is me and Shane, me and user Shane Gould off of Smogon or Discord, wherever you frequent. We are playing the Battle of the Week, and that Battle of the Week battle will be happening on Friday. Just have to make sure the right date. Friday, the 28th of September, and at 10 p.m. GMT plus one. So
he already posted
put it in
that.
your diary.
Is that seriously a
Yeah,
big announcement? He already said that.
that's Yeah, I know, but that's a big announcement because it's going to be great because it's going to be SMPU. It's going to be a best of five as well. He posted that as well. Um, just in case you haven't known or you don't follow the thread, that's what's happening.
I think it'll be a good set. I think this is definitely a good time to watch and see what people like you are messing around with. But that's not like I thought it was gonna be something real big. That's why I was almost ready to believe you'd be quitting, because like
Oh, yeah, no,
I
it's not
was I
quite
was
that.
ready for something big the way you sold it to me. Uh,
Yeah, I should have sold it so big.
Anyway, this episode is not big. This episode's kind of small. We have some topics I want to kind of push off till next week with the last week of ladder tour and whatever. So what I did was I just went in PU Discord and asked, hey, give us some questions for Untier Talk, and I'll answer them because it feels like we should do one of those. And we got a few from like a couple of people who just felt like asking random shit. We're gonna answer them, and that's gonna be the whole thing. Um, they are kind of relevant questions, so that's nice. Um, First one is just the thoughts on Frostlass to S rank, which is a nomination made on the VR, and like it's still worth talking about S rank and what we're doing with it. And I agree that Frostlass is the clear, like, if anything is going up to S. Um, it's not the only mon to consider. Frostlass and Aggron are both worth considering, but I would almost rather promote Frostlass in the current meta than Aggron. I don't know how you feel about that, Hajad, but Frostlass is real good.
Yeah, I'd say that's very true. My thing with Frostlass, if we're doing the Frostlass Aggron comparison, Aggron feels more broken than Frostlass, but Frostlass better, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, Aggron is kind of like it's a little stupid, and it's a little like, oh, you can't switch into this, but it doesn't necessarily feel as like strong in an individual
Consistent,
game
like,
because
truly consistent. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's not always super consistent if you do get those like mudstone matchups whenever, and even when you do get like the solid matchups, I don't. And this is something super hard to quantify, but the question had me thinking like, I always really value Frostlass because in a game, I can look at team preview and my opponent and determine like, do I need spikes this game? Do I need Frostlass to check or cripple specific things? And Frostlass can, pretty much do whatever you want with a single set. And Aggron is a very strong wall breaker, which can be equally as beneficial. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. It just does its job like really well. But I don't know about like S rank well. I wouldn't
So
even
here's
I wouldn't even say Aggron feels more broken than Frostlass. Like yes, technically, but neither of them feel broken to me in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. I did
Yeah.
not quantify that statement well, but I do think Frostlass um, often has more value than Aggron in an average game because it can have whatever value you want it to have, which is much better for a skilled player. Aggron is much better for anyone to just click head smash, and that's pretty free. Um, but I think with nuance, Frostlass becomes stronger.
hmm Okay, so I think I found to quantify it. Um, if you imagine Aggron does really well, like super duper well in like a handful of matchups. Okay,
I wouldn't say
Frostlass does,
handful. It's not. It's noticeable.
yeah, it's noticeable. There's like a plus amount of matchups, let's say. Okay, but Frostlass does really good in every single matchup possible. I can't imagine a matchup where Frostlass doesn't do something, whether it be gap spike, cripple something, click ice beam with 350 speed, taunt a stealth rocker, that type of stuff. Like or spin block. Just like even if you just keep it around, get up a spike one time and then just use it as spin block for the entire time. Like it's one of those things where it's it's so good in almost every single game, and I feel like that's the difference between Aggron. Because Aggron you can sort of put it in a box and say, okay, it will do really well in this type of matchup, so I can prepare more. Like I can not worry about it and prepare more for this type of matchup. Whereas Flossless, you put it on a team, and because it's so splashable, you can put it on literally every team, like bulky, offense, anything. Like it'll go on every team, and it will always do something similar to how Skuntank functions actually.
I agree with that. It is a lot like Skunk, except Skunk, for whatever reason, people say that it can't do that. If we've prepped better, what I would have done is gotten replays and I just looked for replays of the different ways Frostlass is really good in different games. But unfortunately, we didn't do that. I am pretty sure, even just seasonal, it would be entirely possible to pick up Frostlass to pick up a bunch of games where Frostlass just does like all of the different things it can do really well, up to and including entirely 6-0ing Zugaboo stall. So I guess there's that one is a replay I could definitely find, but the rest, I don't know.
Yeah, dude,
I
when was the last
don't.
time we had a spiker? Like, what was the last time that it had any spiker for like that just 6-0 stall? Like, Frostlass does such a big number versus stall that it's insane for a a fastish spiker, really
Mm.
fast spiker.
And
It's
a mon
insane.
that's
Like,
not all that strong, really. Like it is not really strong, but because of that, almost like you have more leeway to just click spikes and not really worry about doing conventional damage.
yeah. Also, its typing is great. I feel like Ghost Ice typing is such good coverage if you decide to run both of them, or just Ice Beam on its own, or just Hex on its own. Like it doesn't have four move slot syndrome, but you always have slots to fill the moves with. If that makes sense.
Mm. I do think that's about enough on Frostlass though, because my God, this Pokemon is just so hard to quantify, I guess, and I do feel better about thinking of Frostlass having now qualified for PU Ladder Tour and played that much more PU. By the way, anyone listening to this, if you haven't gone for PU Ladder Tour and you have the time, I would highly recommend it. I felt like I'd been getting more and more divorced from PU and sticking to, tournaments and testing with friends for like seasonals and whatever. And I had a genuinely great time looking back on my PU Ladder Tour experience, even if during it I was like, fuck, I'm getting hacks. This sucks. But yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. And it does give you like more solid thoughts on the metagame.
Yes, do that.
But in the meantime, we have our second of four questions, which I just thought was funny enough to keep. If you had to delete one tour from Circuit, which would it be? And the original question was, why would it be PU Ladder Tour? But you want to say, like, I really do value PU Ladder Tour. I think too many, tour players, not ladder players, look at it as like, ladder players in my tours, that's gross, and I don't want a ladder, I don't want to do it. And I think that mindset's not good. I would get rid of a seasonal. We already have extra, and PU Ladder Tour is just really valuable. basically I left the question just so I had a good excuse to say like PU Ladder Tour is really good, and I'm sorry that more people haven't gone for it. Like on the flip side, it is cool that more quote unquote ladder heroes are qualifying. I do like that. I like seeing more new people in tours. But guys, worst case scenario, it's a relatively easy way to be guaranteed a solid number of tour points for the PU circuit if you feel like you're lacking there. I would absolutely. It was so good. I'm thinking of maybe doing AG ladder tour as well, which is significantly harder and more obnoxious. But I really liked PU ladder tour, and I used some really cool stuff that I'm going to make some posts about and talk about next week, which is some of the things I wanted to put off till next week. And I like PU a lot more because I played PU ladder tour. No lie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people underrate ladder as just as a general thing. I feel like if you're a new player, like you've just come straight out of the box, don't know too much about competitive Pokemon, I'd say the ladder is probably the best way of becoming from a new player or transitioning into the tour scene. I'd say if you're really good at laddering, it's easier to make that transition. And people often down on ladder, for example, they'll often like say ladder sucks. But I think the key thing that ladder teaches you to do is, well, here's how I put it to my friends. I say, if you can't beat somebody who's playing badly, how can you beat somebody who's playing good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that. Ladder is good help to play consistently as well, but more to the point, the more PU you play, the better you'll get at it. Almost no matter what you're playing, and ladder is not so bad that you won't just improve. But I mean, that wasn't even really the point. This was less aimed at newer players and more like, if you're a tour player and you don't like go ladder or something, yeah, I would honestly be concerned that you're gonna just flake out of PU just by virtue of it getting like all tours no fun. And I mean, maybe you hate ladder tour, you hate your experience, and I'm totally wrong. But I genuinely want to share an experience that I found so rewarding for something as stupid as PU ladder tour. It should not have been that nice. Jed, you haven't qualified yet. Are you going to go for it in like cycle 4 or?
Cycle 3. I was planning on doing it this week actually, but I have work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'm sort of like,
You could still qualify. I didn't. The alt I qualified under, I didn't start it till Wednesday. I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was gonna spam ladder on Thursday, Friday, and attempt to qualify by Sunday or whenever deadline. But yeah, I think the difference between like ladder and tours is that ladder is a bit more chill. Like you don't need to be going 100% on ladder. You can like sit back, relax.
No, I was listening to podcasts. You can't do that during a tour game. Well, you can, and I have, but don't do it.
Yeah, it's a bit more chill. The vibe is a bit more relaxed, and I feel like, especially if you're like a person outside of PU looking to get inside the PU community,
which you're not, because people outside PU are in the demographic of people who listen to this podcast. But go on.
Yeah, no. If you're new to, or not, I guess if you're an OU main or whatever, or a UU main, and you're listening right now, honestly, I'd suggest if you go do the ladder tour, try out the tier. It could be a really good way to spark an interest in a brand new meta game, brand new tier. And I feel like this version of PU at the moment, where especially post Pyro and post Kingler, is actually one of the best that we've had since probably say Snake.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good, and also it's kind of funny that like this now is when I don't know if you've seen the usage stats thread, but there's a whole thing sparked by Young Dramps about how like, we need to go back to tiering by viability. I mean, look at how much usage has screwed up tiers. Like PU just had to ban Pyroar and Kingler, and it's still really broken and unbalanced. And I'm over here like, what? This meta is so much better. What do you? Anyway, that's a total side thing that we do not need to address that, but I just found it very odd because this made it nice as hell.
Yeah, I mean, like even if you like, you can put all the broken ones in a box, and you can almost like
Hijad appears to have just disconnected. Well, that's awfully fun. We can put broken mons.
yeah.
Oh, I lost like everything you said after we can put broken mons. But that's okay. Let's move on from this because I actually genuinely should not have brought that up. I do not want to just start responding to individual people in the terrible thread that is the usage stats discussion thread. That thread is so bad. Let's go on to another question. Do you prefer to ladder for PU Ladder Tour with a solid deck that can win against anything but is hard to pilot, or with something a bit more polarized that is easier to play? I like doing the former, and I only kept this question because I wanted more questions. But I guess thinking about it, like, yeah, the ladder is also like not a bad place to practice using weird stuff and trying to get odd strategies to work, as much as that perpetuates the idea of ladder. I mean, the practice that you can get there is really not worthless.
Yeah. Well, to add to that, I'm the complete opposite. I tried laddering a little bit with some different styles of teams for the suspect test recently. I just found it so difficult to sort of win, but do it in like a win without thinking, so to speak. Like I feel like with harder to pilot teams, you have to think a bit more. Whereas if you have like a really bulky team, like a stool or a semi-stool, you don't really need to think. You just click buttons until you win. When I'm laddering personally, I usually prefer on the bulkier end of the spectrum where it's easier to play, because then you can just have a bit more chill time, relax, play some Pokemon with music in the back. Whereas if you have like a harder to pilot team, like a hyper offense, or you'll be a bit more inconsistent. You'll struggle a bit more. So if you're taking it seriously, I'd say Bolt. If you're trying to have like a really good time, you probably want to put something a bit harder to pilot.
That's interesting because I did go with something like something harder to pilot that is B, also kind of fat, and C, I wasn't taking it too seriously. Like I said, I was listening to podcasts, I was playing Fire Emblem while I was laddering, but I still managed to be like really consistent with the team. So I guess I'm all over the place with no consistent position. So your advice is probably better. But yeah, just a little fun question, I guess. And then the last one, because yeah, I want a short episode here. What do you find fun to play against, and what do you hate to play against? And boy, this could get broad. Why don't you answer this one first this time?
All right. What do I have fun playing against? Okay. So if I think back to the games in particular where I've had fun playing, I found fun playing. Do you recall my PUPL game versus Lax?
No. Specifically
okay,
versus
so
Lax, that no.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was a bad thing to ask. Okay, that game was basically me with not necessarily a good matchup, but not necessarily a bad matchup, and then you had to actively search your win condition upon like breaking hard, playing aggressively, generally playing like more aggressive, and doing loads of double switches and.
Okay, so you like getting like fairly even matchups without like super, polarized like hyper offense or super stall teams or whatever, and you like just the fun of being able to work out what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like the nice thing about the reason why I like it is because it becomes less about the Pokemon themselves, less about what you pick, your arbitrary Pokemon that you pick from the team builder, but more so about who's the better player, who can, work that bit of magic, who can, make that crazy prediction that can win the game. And I look back upon like the other famous games in PU history. So like if you remember in LTPL, Teddy versus Pearl, that was a big game that happened that everybody talked about for a
I
while.
want to back off your mic a little bit.
Yeah, so you remember that game, Teddy versus Pearl in LTPL?
Specifically, no. That was years ago.
Yeah, that was an OSPU game, but it was a similar story in that game. That game was a balance versus balance matchup, and then both players were playing super aggressively, and the game was incredible. Everybody was talking about it for months after the match, right? People still talk about it today, obviously, because I just mentioned it. But yeah, those
wow.
50 matchups with
people still talk about Gasquake because I just mentioned his name on the podcast, and now someone talked about it.
It's true, yeah. It's like.
So you just started your mic started getting really grainy as soon as you got really excited. I feel like you might be leaning into it or something.
Is that better?
No, it's all warped now.
Okay.
It's whatever. We're not known for good audio quality, and I think your point is entirely fair. That like those are the kinds of matches people do keep talking about for good reason, because they can be the most exciting to watch, and I do like a good matchup like that. But for me, really what I prefer is actually like having that defined win con beforehand. I don't like a team where you just are pulling random win cons out of your hat depending on the situation. I like one where you can really strive for something and you can see players like, I have my specific goal of sweeping with, I don't know, Lilligant, and the other guy knows that, and they're doing everything they can to make like crazy plays to keep themselves in a situation that keeps Lilligant from, not being able to sweep, and vice versa from the other side. I think I like it when players know what's going to happen and have to figure out how to stop that from happening in the smartest way possible. If that makes sense. It is very similar to what you described, but what you described I feel can sometimes lean into like certain elements of having matchup or surprise sets, and I really like it when both people just like have all the information and need to strictly outplay. And thinking about it now, this probably sounds way too niche and unclear, and people are like, why am I listening to this garbage? I don't guess that's a dumb thing. So I'll probably just stop it there. What I don't like playing against, actually, I'm just going to stick with like, I've had a lot of tour opponents recently who just like cannot move and in a reasonable amount of time. Like they have to take 5 minutes between every game. No, I'm serious. This happened like 3 or 4 times recently where I've had tour opponents who take like 5 to 10 minutes between every game to get ready for the next game of our set, and it is the worst thing. And then in the game they take forever, and they're talking to other people and they're talking in the room, and it's like, oh my god, just shoot me. That is actually the worst. And this is something I've never had until recently, but it is the fucking worst.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, wasn't there was a video that I saw like a couple of years ago, it must have been by now, of Blunder's guide to win on the ladder, right? And he said, always timer stall your opponent when you're using stall. And Classic. It kind of feels like that, like you have timer, why not use it? Some people don't use it out of like courtesy, like people just click because, it doesn't take 300 seconds or whatever to click stealth rocks. Like we know it's going to happen. So it's like, yeah, it's just weird. I don't like it when people take a long time either. I feel like ladder, not ladder.
It's not even like timer stalling though. It is people in between games of a set while you have no choice but to wait because you're playing the set. Just like, oh, I gotta think about it for 5 minutes. I don't know. I don't expect that anyone would do it. It's just fucking whack.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so.
I needed to vent.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's a cop-out answer, though. Give a real answer.
The teams that I don't like playing against is kind of similarly to what I like playing against. I really games that always stick with me is when the opponent reveals some like unexpected crazy set that just beats you. In the moment it can be really cool, like, oh hey, that's cool, you thought of this new thing, congratulations, and I want to try that now because it looks nice. But that to me is really the worst bit of Mons, where they reveal the random Z move, the random whatever, really taking away like the chances that you ever had in the game. I never like that. Innovation is always going to be a huge part of Mons. That is never going to go away, but I want it to happen to other people.
You like it to happen to other people, huh?
Yeah, I want to have a fighting shot, you know? Like before Mons, I came from chess, and the big thing about chess is you always have all the info. The other games I like playing Smash too. It's you have all the info. How do you outthink your opponent? That's what I like. What I don't like is it's this weird Ghostium Mesprit. How would I know it's a Ghostium Mesprit? What is that even supposed to? I don't know. That was the first thing I thought of. Anyway, you give a quick answer too. I want to wrap this shit up.
Okay, so Rain. Okay, I'm done.
Rain.
Yeah, especially because Auroras can't check Rain anymore. Well,
yes,
can't
it
check
can.
Like, quotation marks.
Auroras absolutely still checks Rain.
No, dude, I'll play you in a matchup straight after this podcast, right? And you will lose to Rain. And you
no, I gotta go. Why? Because Frostlass Rain is good, but Auroras is still a real pain for Rain.
Think about it like this: what do you check with Auroras? You can't check the Kabutops because that has Aqua Jet. You can't check the Quillfish because that has Aqua Jet.
Quillfish doesn't have Aqua Jet.
It does, I think. I'm sure it does.
Aqua Jet cannot be run with the Swords Dance.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they don't run it.
I have never seen Aqua Jet non-SD Quill on Rain. I mean, if that's a thing, then Rain got me, but I have not seen people trying that because it's just it wouldn't be strong enough.
Put it this way, like that's the thing, right? So I just don't like to play Rain outside. There's like
yeah, okay, it's never really that enjoyable. You're not like out playing or out thinking anyone. It's just like, let me just handle Rain. And you just handle the one Rain game plan. It's even more linear than Trick Room or Stall. Like it's just Rain. So yeah, I can see why it's never enjoyable, but I don't agree with that Auroras point.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've lost using Aurora's best Rain, and that was a very frustrating time.
So if you like other low quality, low production value podcasts about Pokemon where no one partaking in it really has any idea what they're doing or how to make it a satisfactory audience experience, go check out Kyo's channel. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you next week.